are more similar than we are different, right? And so this is really an opportunity for us to be like communal and share the mind, right? The oneness of the mind. So I don't have a preference. You ladies have, oh, okay. First, you want to go first? Or would you like to go first?
So then we pass.
Yeah, so you read for the past. Word. So if you can maybe say a little bit about the deck that you're working with and your experience with spiritualism or maybe science.
My name is Cyree. Jarelle. I've been reading for 11 years. I read mediumistic and intuitive tarot, which means that my relationship with spirit and ancestors really guides and informs. And the way that if I do a private reading with you, the way that your ancestors play in your life really informs the kind of cards that I read. I read with a deck called Tarot of the Moon Garden, which is predominantly, I've had them since I was 13 years old. So they're the cards that I picked as, yeah, they're the cards I picked as the first decision of my adult life. And so they are very friendly and open. So if you're a little afraid to get a tarot card reading, I find the Tarot of the Moon Garden is a very nice place to start. Like it's full of very soothing, calm, and very feminine imagery. So one of the reasons ways that I like to start a reading that's long distance, since none of you will be touching the cards that I have in my hand right now, is for us to take 3 deep breaths together and think about who makes up our past. So let's just start with one really strong, big reading with our eyes closed, please.
Wait, do they have to be dead?
I mean, I think that's up to you and like what you think of as dead. Like, is a lot of different. No, they don't necessarily have to be physically dead, but this is where I went to.
Sorry, I was trying to sit down.
So if you want to think of your dead folk, there's a lot more than that. You're alive folk, so I don't see why you wouldn't.
Okay.
All right. So let's start on our first breath. And just let it go. And then our second big breath. And then one more. All right. And I'm going to shuffle for all of us. And while I'm shuffling this, just think about the reasons that you're here, what your past brought you to this place, and also what you're looking for in this space. And I'll shuffle until I feel no resistance. Alright, so the first card that I pulled is the Two of Cups. So the Two of Cups for me is a card of spirit. It's a card of communion, about 2 different kinds of spirit coming together to meet each other, about a blissful and romantic kind of interaction with us all. So I believe that an innate friendship of spirit is one of the things that brought us here. I'm going to pick 2 more cards. Pick the Knight of Pentacles, who is practical and brings slow but lasting change. The Knight of Pentacles is the kind of guy you call on when you need him because he may be boring, but he's reliable. So the changes that we make in our lives today or that we're coming from in the recent past are ones that are bringing us to the changes that we need to go to, and additionally the kind of changes that don't change very quickly. The Pentacles last a very long time. And last, I picked Death. So Death is a major arcana card. That means that the transformations that come with death are some of the most fundamental and important of our lives. So we're coming here in a time of volatile transition that we can't control. Something pulled us here. And what death means is that you've been waiting a long time for something to change in
share that today when I was preparing for the event, I was in my garden weeding, and one, in the way that I weed, a lot of the weeds that are in my garden are actually edible plants. And so, like, there's one called purslane. It's got really thick, juicy looking stem and really sort of juicy looking leaves. They kind of look like, if you're familiar with a plant called succulents, they look like small cacti. It's got a very like cacti look to it, but purslane is a great edible weed. And so as I was weeding, getting rid of, I realized that it was still something that nourished me. And, but then I also was thinking about, oh man, it looks like it's going to rain. And I was thinking that it was really appropriate for it to rain. And that I was certain that I wouldn't be the only one that's like ready to let certain things wash away today. So I love hearing that it's long-lasting change, and that the changes that what's going to change from my past will be affecting things that have been changing for a long time. Especially because life moves so damn fast sometimes. And I know that I've been in that space for, it feels like years actually. So I love being able to like take a moment with breath and with memory and recognize that even though it feels like it's moving so fast, like this continuum is sometimes so long, and that things are happening in all those dimensions at the same time.
Any other comments or thoughts?
I want to share that when you pulled the last card of death, you said that all of us share like a volatile change. It made me think of like how the climate's changing and how the weather's so unpredictable, and any day, anything crazy could happen. And I think like the climate change for everybody is kind of waking people up to the fact that we have to grow our own food, and we have to learn about like what's really going on with the weather and what convenience is changing as far as the climate goes. And I feel like you said, slow and lasting change. I feel like the things that we learn due to maybe fear or curiosity due to the climate change, even if we were all wiped away tomorrow, it'll still be imprinted because we're thinking about it. So it will be changed for people who will come tomorrow. I love that. Thank you.
I want to share again. I just had a conversation yesterday because what you said about environment and like growing food. I had a conversation yesterday with a dear friend, and we were talking about spiritual practice and people being learned or learned in spiritual practice, as if one could possibly be unlearned.
Yeah.
And the idea that it's only because we're supposed to be detached from our spirit
Right.
that we think that other people have the answers and that we don't.
Right.
And so something that an analogy that I drew was to a seed. I was like, a small seed has all the information it needs to become an enormous tree.
Yeah.
Small seed has every bit of information. Small egg in ovary, small sperm in testicle has all the information it needs to become a huge human being. And so yeah, like I love when you said what you just said about tomorrow and the imprint, I immediately saw like two people holding hands and being drawn to plants like food, and like not having to skip a beat because just what you said and even your idea, it imprinted in my mind now. So like then I set forth an intention of what I want for the future, right?
So valuable.
Thank you.
Aw.
have to grab one thing. I forgot something over here. Okay, so for those of you that were here last year, I mentioned, I'm trying to get this air cracking just to take some of this humidity out of here. Okay, so I work with the Unitary deck, or the meta, some people call it that. And I've had this deck for about 11 years now. Did you say 11 years? Ha. 11 years now. And I got this when I was just starting to explore the synchronicity between the religion that I grew up in and African traditional religion. So I grew up in a Catholic church, also in an Anglican church, and also in a spiritual Baptist church. I went to like 3 masses every Sunday, plus Bible school and catechism classes. But what's so excellent about the experience that I had is that now I can see, it doesn't take anything for me to see how every religion is tied together. And so that happened for me kind of early. And so this deck came at the time when I was getting really angry about like learning about like civil rights, and slavery, and from like a collegiate perspective, because I was raised in a Caribbean household and that was not necessarily what we talked about. It was very much your studies and whatever you were being given from school was like that was what you were focusing on. So anyhow, something that has stuck with me from the way that I was raised is using Florida water. Again, for those of you that were here last year, you remember this. Florida water is what used to be fluoridated water, so water that has been infused with essences of flowers. Now it's like an alcohol-based thing, but it still has essences in it, and it's still the scent is nostalgic for me and has become ritual, right? So any ritual is anything that we repeatedly do. So there are things that we do that may not even be serving us that are ritualistic, and patterns of behavior that we have that, so this is all part of the present reading, right? Okay, so we're clear. Because a reading, I'm going to say this too, a reading, anytime, like when people are like, ooh, you read him. A reading is just you telling what's going on. That's it. It's the news. It's what's good. It's habarigani. It's what's the news, and then you run it down. Ooh, you got read. Yeah, you did. And so you can make your mind up to change your behavior right now. And move it along, right? So readings are just us saying what's so. What is so? Stating what's so. So this water for me, this smell for me, I'm gonna pass. Here, you take that and I'll pass it this way. I'm gonna pass it around, and you can just take a little bit in your hand, if you like. Just take a small amount, or if you need more, you want more, take as much as you need. It's not that much in there, so we want it to get around. But I remember that it was about putting it over my nose and inhaling the scent, putting it over the back of my neck. It's refreshing. It's supposed to be grounding. The idea of using flowers or herbs, anything like that that's earthy, is about grounding oneself, right? So you don't have to do it, but when I work with folks one-on-one, and when I do body work also, and like work with folks that are working to learn how to meditate and hips, which are usually very tight and activated at all times. We're trying to relax our hips, allow our shoulders to relax and our chest to open. And then that breath work, which I love that you did, the 3 breaths, but something that I also do as a ritual for like changing modes, changing into anything, when I wake up in the morning, whatever. That's about expansiveness and filling oneself and then feeling how wide we are, right? It's about expansion. So grounding, expansion. So this earthy smelling water is about grounding oneself. A lot of times I remember that when people were passing spirits in the church, it would be about like, you know, wetting them with that. So make sure that they didn't go too far. Whatever too far was, you know, my concept of what too far into the spirit world is evolving all the time, right? Opening oneself up. But so that is a part of ritual for me. So I will start to shuffle. And we're looking at our present circumstances. And of course, you know, the present is built upon what has happened oftentimes, but our goal is to be creating the present moment from nothingness. Is not to be functioning inside of, oh, this is how I am because this is what I did, or this is who I am because of what someone said, or a label that existed yesterday, or even that moment before this one. So the goal is always to be creating from nothingness, so that we can have exactly what we want, and not what we just think we might maybe possibly have, even though. So this deck, I worked with another deck which I actually lent to someone and was never returned. So this is also my deck, you know. And I love it. And while you were saying that, you know, you feel like your deck is a very gently speaking deck, I came across many spiritualists, so-called spiritualists, that like to deliver bad news, and would always tell people about like the black magic around them, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, you know what? There is enough of that in the media. My people need good news. And so all my news is good. All my news is good. So I'm gonna stop now and ask that we actually take another 3 deep breaths together. If you're able to plant your feet, or if you're sitting on the floor, maybe even put your hands to the floor. And if you can imagine that that your soft spot that was open when you were a baby, that it's still open, just open just a little bit, and grow from that place wherever you sit, so that your neck is elongated and your spine straightens. And we're going to inhale together. And when you exhale, you're going to draw your navel in towards your spine. And now we inhale again through our nose. We're going to exhale again, drawing the navel in towards our spine. Full exhale. And one more time, we're going to inhale. two card draw. And this is based on, this deck is based on it's based upon this Egyptian system of spiritual cultivation, which was intuited by a man, you know, just a person like you and I. So this is just one language to talk about this stuff in. So this is the first card. So the way that these cards work is that these four circles on the side are considered suits. So as the circles are filled in, it indicates whether or not this particular element, which is Uakshet, is in balance. So this is supposed to be indicating that there's something in the present that is seeking balance. Because this is Tem Ma'at. Ma'at being balance, being the scales being balanced. So something is seeking balance, and that will be indicated by the second card. But I want to talk a little bit about this card, Uakshet, so that we're clear about what this what energy we're working with here. Okay. Yes, so I'm just gonna pull the next card. So the card actually goes back into the deck because it is possible to read for a double pulling of the same card. This is the second card. Which is called Gem. So this is talking about psychic imbalances that we may be dealing with based upon not following laws of health. So, you know, we all know that when we're not eating properly, when we're dehydrated, that our functions, they're off balance. Proper sleep is completely necessary. I have plenty of friends who the daily conversation is, oh, yo, I slept 2 hours. And like, you know, the then retort is, yo, I need you to get some sleep in the next like 2 days. Otherwise, I'm going to come and I'm going to lay down with you and put you down for a nap and pat your back and all that. You can cry if you want. It doesn't matter. Right? So it's about like respecting natural biological law in order to better connect psychically. Right? And so a psychic connection doesn't necessarily mean being able to read minds. Psychic power means being able to connect to your intuition. So what this card is saying is that if you really want to be clear about what to do and make your next move your best move, if you really want to be able to cast off the unnecessary influences that we know that we encounter, then biologically you have to be respecting the place where you want to make those great decisions, right? So body, mind, spirit is connected. It's connected. And these are things that we cannot ignore anymore. And these cards are pointing to the fact that there is some imbalance there. So there is a sort of casting aside of, oh, I'll sleep tomorrow. I'll sleep when I'm dead. These posts that are on Facebook or Instagram, I see people posting things that say, if you woke up broke today, that means you shouldn't have gone to sleep. Fuck out of here. You need your sleep. The idea of working from sunup to sundown is slave mentality. Somebody is driving you to do that. We cannot anymore allow outside influences to drive and motivate us not taking care of ourselves, right? And so when we do, we're able to be more creative and be the ones that are not following trends but innovating, right? Okay, so we're gonna see what this actually says in the book, because this was So all of the readings of Geb indicate the interactions between the physical body. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me read what I said first. So psychic imbalance due to violations of health laws, clogged psychic channels, acupuncture and/or breath work will help. Breath work meaning like deep breathing, different forms of breathing, different breathing activities, and exercises that cause respiration. Respiration is the thing that helps your body turn your sugars into energy. For people that do not breathe properly, that is when you end up storing your sugars in your body and then it turns into excess fat as opposed to being able to metabolize and then turn into energy. When you are not breathing properly, when you get stuck in a situation where you have your breath taken away and then do not come back to a deep breath, filling all areas of your lungs and allowing yourself to be expansive, you are getting 2 units of energy. When you are breathing properly, you are getting 38. 38. The other thing about breath, so that's respiration. There's aerobic and anaerobic, right? When it comes to your breath, the other thing that happens is your nervous system kicks in. So you're sympathetic or you're parasympathetic. You're either in fight and flight mode or you're in, I'm using my intuition to handle a crisis and able to process what is happening. When you saw that shit on Facebook that you were like, you're not getting so hyped that now you're holding your breath. You're like, oh, let me breathe through this, think about it. Okay, this is Facebook. Or any other thing. Seeing an ex in public, your mother saying that you're a bad mother, whatever, because these things happen. But today, what's happening when we're forgetting to breathe is our bodies are thinking that we're in crisis mode all the time. And so when actual crisis happens, we shut down, we break down, our bodies are so depleted, we're tired. We're tired. In addition to not getting those 38 units of energy, we're only getting 2. We're driving ourselves like super hard. And so yeah, that's why there's static in the transmission, right? Okay, so Geb. All of the readings of Geb indicate the interactions. All of the readings of Geb indicate the interaction between the physical body and the mental or emotional faculties. Geb, as the second card card symbolizes the effect that the physical health has upon the emotions and thus the mental activities symbolized by this particular deity. It's very important to note that oftentimes an